The Dolby Theatre was alive with a kind of electricity that only came once a year. Golden spotlights sliced through the Los Angeles night, bathing the red carpet in a warm glow as limousines pulled up one after another. Cameras flashed like 1,000 small suns, capturing every detail of every gown, every suit, every smile. But beneath the glitter and the rehearsed laughs, there was something quieter, something only a few could feel. Will Smith stepped out of his car, the crisp, black tux hugging his frame perfectly. His face carried that same magnetic charm the world had known for decades, but behind his eyes was a storm he had learned to hide well. Tonight was supposed to be his night, the night the world celebrated his work, his journey, his name. The night he might finally hold an Oscar not as a nominee, but as a winner. Jada was at his side, in her emerald gown that caught the light like liquid fire. She smiled for the cameras, though her smile was different, more controlled, almost guarded. They both knew the whispers, the interviews, the entanglements, but they also knew the world was watching for something else tonight. Inside the theater, the air was heavy with excitement. The biggest stars in the world sat shoulder to shoulder, waiting for the night's first laugh, first tear, first standing ovation. The lights dimmed, the music swelled, and Chris Rock walked onto the stage, owning the moment like only he could. The crowd leaned in, ready for the humor, the jabs, the little bobs that made the Oscars unpredictable. Will smiled, at least at first. He had been in rooms like this before, had been the target of jokes before, but something about tonight was different. Something about the way the lights bounced off Jada's shaved head, something about the quiet tension in his chest. He didn't know it yet, but the world was about to see a version of Will Smith that I've never seen before, and nothing would ever be the same. Chris Rock's voice carried icily over the crowd, each joke bouncing off the golden walls of the Dolby Theatre. The audience laughed in waves, some throwing their heads back, others covering their mouths, savoring the bite in his humor. Then came the joke, a casual remark about Jada's shaved head, delivered with the same effortless rhythm as the rest. But to Will it didn't land as harmless. It landed like a stone thrown at a glass window he'd been protecting for years. At first, the camera caught him smiling, the way you do when the world expects it. But beside him, Jada's smile didn't even try to hide the sting. Her eyes rolled subtly, her jaw tightened. That was the moment the air shifted. No one else in the room could feel it like Will could. 1,000 thoughts crashed into his mind at once. The years of whispers, the online insults, the endless speculation about his marriage. This wasn't just a joke, not to him. Before the audience could even process the change in his expression, Will rose from his seat. Each step toward the stage felt heavy but unstoppable, like a train already past the point of braking. Chris Rock, unaware of what was coming, leaned slightly forward with a grin, expecting a playful exchange. Instead, Will's hand moved in a single, sharp motion, clean, swift, and deliberate. The sound was unmistakable. A crisp, cutting slap that seemed to echo louder than the orchestra ever could. For a heartbeat, the room froze. Cameras captured the stunned faces, Lupita Nyong'o's wide eyes, Nicole Kidman's open mouth, rows of celebrities caught between disbelief and shock. Chris Rock's face showed more surprise than pain. He tried to brush it off with a line, but before he could move forward, Will's voice thundered through the quiet. "Keep my wife's name out of your mouth." The censored silence on the live broadcast only amplified the tension in the theater. No one laughed now. The air was thick, charged, and suffocating. Will turned, walked back to his seat, his body rigid, his jaw clenched. The night had changed. The man they thought they knew had changed. And every single person in that room knew the Oscars would never be remembered the same way again. The rest of the night played out like a dream trapped inside a storm. The audience tried to laugh at other jokes, tried to clap for other winners, but the shadow of that moment hung over every speech, every camera pan, every sip of champagne. Will sat in his seat, shoulders square, eyes fixed forward, as if holding himself together by sheer willpower. Minutes later, his name was called. The winner for Best Actor. The applause felt differently odder, yet strangely hollow. As he walked to the stage, his hands trembled almost imperceptibly, not from excitement, but from the weight of what had just happened. The golden Oscar statue felt cold in his grip. Standing under the stage lights, Will's voice cracked before he even spoke. He talked about love, about protection, about standing up for family. Tears streaked his face, mixing with the sweat on his skin. The words sounded sincere, but the world watching from their living rooms couldn't decide whether they were listening to an apology, a justification, or both. When the cameras cut, the conversations began. Social media exploded, some calling him a hero, others branding him as unprofessional, violent, unstable. Memes flooded timelines before the night even ended. The Academy released statements, news anchors dissected the incident from every angle, and Hollywood found itself split right down the middle. In the days that followed, the Oscar win was overshadowed completely by the slap. Invitations were withdrawn. Projects were quietly paused. Friends stopped calling. Will released an apology, his words deliberate and heavy, but the stain remained. Privately, he questioned himself. Was it worth it? Was that moment of defending Jada worth the fallout that now surrounded him? Weeks turned into months, and the noise slowly faded, but the image of Will Smith, hand raised in that theater, would never truly disappear. It had become a part of him, his story, his legacy, his burden. The slap that shook the world would forever live in the space between who he was and who the world now believed him to be.